Greetings builders! The Necropolis League review yesterday was awesome and GGG once again came up with new mechanics and features for PoE. They went away and beyond with that crazy great crafting system, and I can't wait to see the powerful items you guys are going to make. I'm pretty sure that Necropolis is going to be another great success. Also yesterday the patch notes were available but not yet the passive tree, and for that reason today I'll bring you expectations of starter builds for the Necropolis League. As soon as they reveal the full passive tree, I'll release 12 definitive starter builds for you to start Necropolis with the right foot. Now let's start this video with an OP starter build that once again escaped the nerf hammer, the Venom Gyre Deadeye with the Ranger class. Venom Gyre is a very interesting skill which fires a projectile that hits enemies and returns to you, piercing and dealing damage to everything on its path. When the projectile successfully returns to you, you can keep and stack them up to 30 times, and they will all be released at once when you use the Whirling Blades movement skill. To list the pros of this build, I wouldn't even know where to start. It comes with an amazing clear speed, boss damage and a big effective HP. Above all, it's cheap and easy to put together. It doesn't require any mandatory unique item. Now, to list the cons is the real challenge here. It's hard to find something not to like on this build. However, I would say that as most builds, this one is also vulnerable to chaos damage, unless of course you invest on chaos resistance gear. As for budget, this build is cheap. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 90 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 120 chaos, and for easily completing your atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. For clear speed, I'll give this build 10 out of 10. The Venom Gyre projectile already has an expansive nature for the amount of time it stays dealing damage on screen. Now, with a Deadeye that grants a lot of speed and many buffs to projectiles, the result is what you're seeing on this tier 16 gameplay. The boss damage is also a 10 out of 10. You can use Vol Venom Gyre to instantly have 50 stacked projectiles and delete bosses with an amazing shotgun effect using Whirling Blades on them. It's just unreal, and I can't believe it wasn't nerfed again. For the survivability, I'll give it 9 out of 10. This build counts with over 80,000 effective HP because of high armor, high evasion, spell suppression and block chance. Next we have another incredibly popular starter build, and I'm sure a lot of players are going to start with this one. It is of course the Lightning Arrow Deadeye with the Ranger class. Even though Vengeance Cascade was nerfed, the introduction of the returning projectile support gem kept this build super fast and strong, which caused most of players to choose it. During last league, I released the Lightning Arrow guide that needed some expensive unique items, and this time I'm going to make it different. On this guide, you'll find 2 versions of this build, a budget and a complete one. Each one has its own POB and passive tree, so you can start this build even on a low budget and upgrade it later. To list the pros of this build, I'm not sure if I would start with its clear speed or boss damage, because both are amazing. This build is also not complicated to put together. I totally recommend you to try it out. Now to list the cons, I would say that this build is not very tanky. Even though you have some defensive layers, it's important to take advantage of your ranged attacks and stay far from danger. If you don't mind your position, you might die. About the budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 80 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. But if you go for the complete version, you need to invest at least 4 more divines. On the budget version, you only need 1 mandatory unique item for this build, the Yoke of Suffering amulet that causes all of your elemental damage to shock. This way our enemies take a lot more damage. On the complete version, on the other hand, besides the Yoke of Suffering, you also need the Lionized Fall and the Thread of Hope unique jewels. They are expensive but grant a huge boost to your damage. For clear speed, I'll give it 10 out of 10. You fire many projectiles with high attack speed, and those projectiles return to you, pierce enemies, bounce off walls and go everywhere. No one can survive that. The boss damage is also amazing and deserves 10 out of 10. Using 2 Val Lightning Arrows plus your ballistas on bosses will kill them so fast that you won't believe it. For the survivability, I'll give this build 8 out of 10. Even though you have armor, evasion, spell suppression and can kill enemies from a good distance, this build isn't very tanky. If you don't mind your position, you might die. finally we have this super powerful and tanky starter, the Lightning Strike Trickster with the Shadow class. Lightning Strike is an awesome skill that used to be on top of the meta, but went down after a couple of nerfs. Now with the new returning projectile support gem, it's back with more power than ever. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its clear speed. Besides a strong melee hit, Lightning Strike also creates many lightning projectiles that run on the floor, killing every enemy on its path. Besides that, this build also counts with the Trickster Ascendance to be super fast and tanky. It has 7 frames charges for extra damage and speed and a lot of defensive layers. Now to list the cons, the first thing that comes to mind is that this build needs a good elemental call to work properly, but don't worry, it's easy to buy one from other players. As for budget, this build is not expensive at all. You can get it destroying early in-game maps with only around 80 chaos. To comfort with advanced yellow maps, you need to invest around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. You only need one mandatory unique item for this build, the Yoke of Suffering Amulet that causes all of our elemental damage to be able to shock, causing enemies to take a lot more damage. For clear speed, I'll give this one 10 out of 10. As mentioned before, you have 7 frames charges and a huge effective elusive that grants this build a lot of movement speed. Besides that, Lightning Strike creates many projectiles that run on the floor, exploding many enemies that aren't even close to you yet. The boss damage is also amazing and deserves 9 out of 10. With the new returning projectile support gem, you deal a lot more damage to bosses. This one is an awesome boss killer. For the survivability, I'll give it 9 out of 10. This build has over 100,000 effective HP because of high armor, evasion, spell suppression, fortify, and even a trickster buff that causes you to take 40% less damage. Above all, you are immune to freeze and stuns. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you're just as excited as I am for the Necropolis League. Please don't forget to tell me your thoughts in the comments and leave a thumbs up to support the channel. I wish you guys an amazing day, and don't forget to keep building!